The question is Air India's operations. Under the scanner, Jitendra Bhargav now joins me, former Executive Director, Air India. Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar is a former Air India pilot. Appreciate both of you joining us. Jitendra Bhargav, with every passing day, we're seeing questions being raised over Air India's operations, particularly in the last 3 years since Tata's took over. You may have read what Praful Patel, former Civil Aviation Minister, said. He's also questioned Singapore Airlines and their silence, Singapore Airlines being a partner in that original JV that they'd signed with the Tata Group for Vistara. What's your sense? Are we being unfair to Air India in questioning their operations at this stage, or does Air India have much to answer for?
Rajdeep, my view is very clear. We are trying to look at every aspect and say this is a possible fault that may have led to an accident. But let me state it very categorically and emphatically here that there are systems, maintenance system, checks. Now, when somebody says that the engine was overhauled and installed in March, well, there's a system. After the engine is overhauled, it is put through a test house, various parameters are checked, and only then it is reinstalled on the aircraft. So there is nothing about it, and this is a routine thing, because after 4,000 to 6,000 hours of flying, the engine needs to be refurbished, and it is routinely done. So why make it into an issue, this thing? Coming on to the Singapore Airlines part, well, the management sits in Delhi. Whose responsibility is it? We don't go to a shareholder and say, look, it's your responsibility. But if they had a contract for anything of this kind, well, they are answerable. But in my opinion,
your
it's very
view,
clear.
from your view as an insider at Air India, as someone who has connections in Air India, are these maintenance concerns serious or not?
Well, Rajdeep, I had written it in 2015 in my book that 2 of the Dreamliners were down for 10 months because of lack of spare parts. DGCA has flagged even last week the shortage of spare parts for Dreamliner aircraft. That's one. But notwithstanding my own statement in my book, I still maintain that I will overlook what I had written in 2015 for the simple reason that in the last 10 years, 1,100 aircraft, multiple airlines have flown this aircraft, and they have had a very clean safety track record, barring the recent one in Ahmedabad. So why must I go back and say, look, this is what was wrong? The maintenance parameters, and even let me explain to you, that even when the plane was to take off at Ahmedabad airport, the aircraft maintenance engineers go through all the tests before the plane is given the sanction, and this licensed engineer, an experienced one, signs a sheet that he has inspected the aircraft thoroughly and cleared it for takeoff. I don't think one can fault it. There are systems in place, and they must have been followed.
You're saying don't...
Somebody is to allege that the engineer did not do it. Engineer did a cursory glance. He did not put it on record. Well, that's a different matter, but there are systems in place to ensure that at every stage, checks are there.
I want to bring in at this moment Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar. You're a former Air India pilot. Our report seems to suggest that there were defects in the right engine, which were corrected only a few months earlier. Are these reports, along with the growing instances of technical snags that are rocking Air India over the last 24, 48 hours, worrying for you? Or do you believe this is simply out of abundant caution or fear after what happened last week?
Sri Rajdeep, whatever has happened on 12th of June was something very unbelievable, one of its kind, horrific, and just shook the entire world. Dreamliner going just like that with loss of lift. So now for me it is too premature to say anything about about the engines, about the technical snags, because everybody, what you see in the social media, is trying to get the answer. Now everyone is trying their own theory, and which is I think it is not correct. Let the
so the right engine being, you're saying the reports of a right engine being replaced a few months ago should not be taken as any evidence of something could be going wrong with the engines of the Dreamliner. Am I correct?
No, that doesn't mean. So the thing is that even the right engine is replaced, what Mr. Bhargav said, even the engine, any engine replaced goes through extensive checks on the ground and everything before it's put to air. Now it is too premature to say whether the right engine was involved in this crash, even if the right engine was, or overhauling something has to do with the crash. Is too premature to say, because the flight data recorder will give out the complete truth what exactly has happened. So now at this point of time, speculating about that whether it was right engine or left engine, we all knew that the aircraft went down because of the loss of the lift. Because
So,
if the
how
lift
do you
is
how do you explain these numerous flights which have either had to have not taken off, or have been held back because of technical snags, or have had to return to base because of technical snags just in the last 48 hours?
So, the thing is, the technical snag doesn't mean, that the flight cannot fly or something. It because there is something called, minimum equipment list. The aircraft is fly-worthy with some defects as also. But now, with the extensive checks on DGCA scanner, the regulator may have, or the airlines itself must have said, any kind of, you have even if a navigation system or something is not working, you can take it as a technical snag or some switch or something which is not affecting the aviation or the airworthiness of the aeroplane. So I'm not saying that all technical snags you should come back or something, but yes, it should be taken seriously. If the SOP or the procedure of the airline says that this snag, you need to come back, you need to come back. Secondly, all these disruptions which are taking place for the since all 66 flights cancelled since 12th June is primarily because of the Dreamliners being down for the extensive safety checks, coupled with what has happened over the Iran and the Iraq and the other Middle East airspaces. The aircraft have to divert, do a different routing which involves more time, which involves more fuel, landing at different place, FDTL of the pilots. So now the aircraft is going from here to say London or something, the same aircraft has to come back. Now if that aircraft is down for DGCA check, naturally the other aircraft will also get affected because this is all interconnected, right? So this
Okay,
is
I take your point, but Jitendra Bhargav, is there in a sense therefore an element of siege within Air India because of what's happened, a sense that Air India finds itself under increasing pressure and scrutiny, a sense of siege which is leading in many reasons for maybe pilots and indeed the airline now to be extra careful?
Rajdeep, Air India has been under close scrutiny from years and years and years, irrespective of whether it was owned by government or it is owned by Tatas now. But let me explain, and so that we must try and finish this element of fear being created or gets created through an accident, that airline industry has a global character. There are systems in place. Air India has licensed pilots, experienced pilots, licensed engineers. So everything is done in a manner that befits or the guidelines that have been stipulated by Boeing company. So where is the question of doubt? The reality is, yes, an accident has taken place. But as Captain very rightly said, let's wait. Let the investigations get over. It shouldn't be that we have looked at every aspect. This could be a possible factor, this could be a possible factor, and this was. And at the end of it, you find, well, these were not the possible factors. Let the black box give clue, give understanding of what it is. Let the experienced people who are decoding the black box juxtapose all those kind of things, work it on a simulator, work on everything, and say, well, this is the reason why this plane crashed. Dreamliner had a terrific safety track record.
So in your view, we should not doubt whether Air India is being professionally run or not, whether pilots are overstressed, whether Tata's has bitten off more than they can chew.
Rajdeep, I will only say one thing. Yes, Air India has been in the news for the wrong reasons on very many safety or service standards on a flight. But take, for example, the cancellations that have taken place in the last few days and made big news. 66 flights have got cancelled, etc. Once DGCA says that you need stringent checks on Dreamliners, Air India is obligated to provide this aircraft for checks. Now, you can't be flying all over the world and say, well, these safety checks which have been necessitated because of an air crash can take up to a month. Come next week, after all these checks, in fact, all these Dreamliners have been subjected to checks by now, and they will get back to normalcy. But what are we doing is mounting pressure on Air India management, which at this juncture is saddled with just too many issues, right from the time the accident took place, families of the victims getting on, because Air India, as the airline concerned, is involved with every aspect. We can't say the Gujarat government is doing this, this government is doing this DGCA's function when Air India is at the center of everything that has got to do with this accident and thereafter.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Jitendra Bhargava and Captain Captain Bhatnagar, appreciate both of you joining me here on the show tonight. Thank you very much.